On my last random Steam keys video, a couple of you guys mentioned that Fanatical, another key site, sells much higher quality random keys than anything G2A has to offer, which is why today I decided to compare the both of them by buying 5 random Steam keys from each site. The first thing I needed to make sure was that these prices were at the least similar. You see, G2A doesn't sell the keys themselves, they are all sold by multiple third parties who can set the prices however they like. So although Fanatical lists 5 random keys at $4.79, G2A either lists them at $2 or $200. Not actually that high, but as you can see, the prices are all over the place. So I made sure to buy a pack whose lowest price was as close as possible to Fanatical's, which ended up being 5 premium keys for $5.35, because my blind ass apparently didn't see $5.14. Regardless, just keep in mind I technically spent more on G2A here. To assure there were no unfair matchups, I'll be comparing these games in the order that they were listed. I also made sure to actually play the games for more than 5 seconds this time, okay? I'm sorry to all Bomber Crew fans out there. Rolling the dice on our first games, we have Ground Mountain Adventure from Fanatical and Hot Space Station from G2A. Let's start with Grand Mountain Adventure. The game is, in basic terms, a skiing simulator, with breathtaking views as one of its main selling points. You're able to choose your board based on your preference. I don't think they make much of a difference, it seems to just be cosmetic. And you can either ski around at your own pace or play some of the trials and challenges littered around the map. A couple of them are unlocked from the get-go while others are hidden. Each challenge you complete rewards you with ski passes depending on your rank, which are used to progress up the mountain or onto the next mountain. There are a total of 12 mountains, each with their own layout and features such as animals that will end you the moment you touch them. This game is really relaxing, a great way to blow off steam after losing your 30th ranked match in a row. The only criticism I really have is that I don't like how far away the camera view is from the player. Even at its closest, it is still pretty far, making it a little hard to see where I am, especially when passing by trees. But that's just my FPS rotted brain speaking. I'm just glad I'm now able to go skiing from the comfort of my own home since I wussed out last December. It's nice that from the get-go, I got a game that I didn't actively despise into oblivion, so far so good. But then I played Hot Space Station. In this game, you play as a little astronaut tethering his way through these stupidly small holes until you kill every enemy. You get one weapon with the chance of an enemy to drop their own, and that's literally it. I'm not even joking. This seems like one of those little flash games you'd find on Friv. God, I sound old. I don't know how many of you watching even know what that site is. This game is just an empty hunk of junk, but to be honest, I was willing to sit through as many levels as it took to see the end. But at some point, I ended up kicking the bucket and loaded back into level 4, only to realize that the map layout was completely different. That's when I started getting the suspicion that the game's levels were being randomly generated each time you loaded in. And yep, I was proven right when I reset the level. For all I know, this game would have gone on endlessly, and I wasn't about to sit in my chair until I rotted away just to see an ending that may not even exist. Maybe a dragon appears from a different dimension in level 1000, but I am not about to play a browser games for hours on end to find out. Not to mention, this thing is listed at $30 while Grand Mountain Adventure at $20. Shameless. Sorry to all 3 Hot Space Station fans out there, your game blows ass. No further explanation needed. Fanatical gets a nice shiny point here. Rolling the dice once again, we have Convoy from Fanatical and Instant Death from G2A. Let's start with Instant Death. This is basically the impossible game if it were remade as an FPS. It's set up as an obstacle course separated into 20 different levels. The first couple of levels are, of course, an introduction to the game and its mechanics. Red blocks hurt you while green blocks are safe. In order to finish a level, you must make it to the end after picking up all the orbs placed around the map. I'll admit, I was kind of enjoying playing this. It is pretty challenging, at least for my smooth brain, and the speedrun potential is quite intriguing. Though I doubt I'd ever do a speedrun of this thing, I can barely beat these levels in general. Maybe we can have an asylum percent, see who can keep their sanity for the longest period of time. Anyways, this game is a pretty simple obstacle course. There's not really much more to it other than beating it, so we can move on to Convoy over here. In this game, you play as a convoy, hence the name, as you try to finish objectives while also defending yourself from enemy attacks. Destroying enemies grants you with bolts, which you can use to repair or upgrade your vehicles and refuel gas. Besides the main objectives, there are also a bunch of side quests you can stumble upon randomly or by visiting some of these yellow markers. When it comes to combat, you click to position your smaller vehicles and have them shoot at a specific target while the big boy just kind of drives in a straight line, though he does have a little EMP laser that could help. Now that you have a general idea of the game, let me explain to you why why I personally did not like this. For starters, the random encounters I'd find myself running into began getting quite annoying. It felt like I couldn't go 5 seconds without someone threatening my life. You are able to avoid them, but most of the time it costs fuel, which is just super annoying as these encounters usually happen as I'm trying to make it back to camp in order to restore my fuel, let alone the health I just lost from my last battle. I understand the main purpose is to give you the opportunity to gather more bolts and upgrade your vehicles, but it just began being more of a nuisance than helpful. I also kind of wish there was some sort of indicator that lets you know if you are under leveled before getting into a fight so that I don't accidentally go up against monsters. It's not like you can just reset either. Once you die, it is completely over. You have to start from scratch. I played this shit on easy and yet it still feels near impossible, but that might actually be a real skill issue. Even when you play it safe and smart like I did after learning my lesson, the game just begins to get kind of boring. This is my personal opinion, but I don't really like the whole point and click style of games. I like doing the combat myself as opposed to watching my characters do it. Either way, I'm putting my personal beliefs aside as I do believe that Convoy is an overall much higher quality game than Unity Engine Project number 37. So although I'm obviously giving a point to Fanatical in this case, I'll also give half a point to G2A for providing me with a little more enjoyment. Moving on and rolling the dice once more, we have Heaven Dust from Fanatical and, oh my god, Last Room from G2A. If you haven't seen my last random key video, this is the exact same game I already got there. So after buying a total of 4 G2A packs, I've gotten 3 duplicate products. Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, I guess we might as well just get the last room out of the way. I can explain this whole thing in just one word: escape room. You move things around, open up some doors, place objects on pressure plates, open up the exit, and move on. Pretty simple. In my last video, I said this. As of writing this, it is literally unbeatable. There's a bug in the 3rd level that doesn't allow for this door to open, and if it doesn't open, you can't press the play and finish the level. And although that bug has still not been fixed, and probably never will be, I actually did find a way around it by literally just tossing the arm over and onto the pressure plate. So I was finally able to see the game past its first 4 levels, though it isn't much different other than the fact that we're now outside. It's still a generic escape room, just with a couple more pre-made assets tossed around. But here's what I thought was pretty cool. Since I was able to cheese the fuck out of level 3, I thought that maybe I would be able to cheese every other level. And after looking for as many speedrun texts as possible, I was able to literally skip practically every single level of the game. Although this game is buggy as hell with some shitty ass movement, it is actually now one of my favorite speedrunning games because of how effortless it is. I think a perfect run could get me just under 4 minutes. I'll upload my first and probably only ever speedrun on my second channel, making up for the fact that I gave up on cube life so quickly. Alright, let's get out of this room and move on to Heaven Dust. That was one of my best strokes. First and foremost, why the hell is the word dust above heaven in the title card? I genuinely thought that the game was called Dust Heaven for the longest time. Heaven Dust is a top-down style puzzle game where you play the role of a child, I think, who's trapped inside a half mansion, half research lab infested with zombies. Your goal is to find clues in order to safely escape. Killing zombies will sometimes drop tokens, which you can use to purchase hints or useful items such as a med kit and the map of the section you are in. This game honestly surprised me because I was not expecting to spend as much time on it as I did. I just kept playing without even realizing how much time had passed. I do like how alongside clues, you also learn more about how everything here went to shit. Adding a bit of lore to a game makes it a lot less generic than it otherwise would be. That's not to say I thought this game was perfect. My main criticism has to do with inventory. There are a lot of objects you have to collect and bring to specific locations in order to progress, and the map is pretty big, but such a small hotbar with items like ammo and health already taking up space by default makes it so that you're basically constantly having to battle against your inventory. I wish you could just drop some items on the floor, but that's not possible. The only way to safely get rid of them is by putting them in chests located in only a handful of rooms with only so much space. There is also one little challenge that was kind of confusing me. You're supposed to figure out the code to this computer by using the person's first initial, their department code, and their gender code. But I had no idea what a department code was. I don't understand how a manager is considered an L. So I just had to brute force this every time it came up, which was kind of annoying. I also didn't like the sheer amount of zombies there was. Since it takes about 4 bullets to kill each of them, it depletes your ammo so fast. But other than that, I did really enjoy this game. So I'm obviously giving Fanatical a point here. There's literally no contest. At this point, do we even need a point system anymore. Anyways, let's just move on to Lords and Villains from G2A and Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth from Fanatical. In the case of Call of Cthulhu, I'm going to have to censor quite a bit since the game is quite graphic, and you know, I need money to live. Now, this game really surprised me because it actually felt like a AAA game, though I don't think it actually is. It was published by Bethesda of all companies back in 2005 though, and is now sitting at a modest price of $5 or $1 on sale. We open in an insane asylum where a man, presumably the protagonist, has lost his mind. The doctor checks up on him only to realize that he's trying to get the credits rolling too early. The book falls and we're presented with some Twilight fan fiction telling us that something lies within the dark corners of the earth. We cut back 6.5 years earlier where we, Detective Jack Walters, are called to investigate a rundown mansion some hillbillies are causing a ruckus in. I find it kind of funny how the cops just let us waltz in there unarmed as if we were immortal to them. Alright, fuck you guys, I guess. Okay, I probably shouldn't have done that so quickly because I just got one tapped. Oh! Ah! Peter! I can't tell who that was. I don't remember if it was Peter or Reginald, but holy shit. But once we try speaking to these boys, we find that they've actually been waiting for us all this time. Not just waiting, in fact, they've been watching our every single move. We continue down this basement that these hillbillies somehow dug up and find a torture chamber. We off this guy, rest in peace, and pick up a green crystal that seems to be providing power. We place it in this hole here and come face to face with Cthulhu himself, I think. I don't know, they seem more like the Shadow Man from Shadows of Evil. And that's about where I'm going to stop with the story because there is still so much more to experience here, but I don't want to make this video 5 hours long. I kind of want to make this game its own video at some point, so I'll save it for then. But story aside, the gameplay itself is alright, I guess. There wasn't much action you can do yourself other than sneak around, at least up until where I stopped. Other than that, it's mostly a story heavy walking simulator. Also, the game is quite buggy, though that's probably to be expected considering how old it is. The biggest bug early on is entering the basement. Almost every single time I opened the hatch, the game would just crash. Oh, whoa, 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 what was in there? A hidden room, be careful. Alright, what do we find? What? Why does the game keep crashing right there? Why? Fuck! From a distance and stand up. Oh! I honestly thought the game was unplayable past the first level, but I was able to sort of find a workaround by just crouching and staying still as it opened, though for all I know I just got lucky. Still, I enjoy this game a lot, and it's also a huge juxtaposition to Lords and Villains. So huge in fact, it might have unconsciously ruined any interest I had in playing it. Lords and Villains is a village builder where you play the role of the king, even allowing you to design your own family, setting off to build your own empire. You start off with 3 families, not including your own, with each of them having their own professions and responsibilities. You're able to build houses for them, though I seem to have focused solely on that and forgot to build my own family a house. Humble royalty sleeping on dirt so their people can thrive. You can also build docks, trading systems, buildings, basically like any other village builder. But this is where I'll start going off on my own opinions, so don't take my words as gospel, but I really didn't like this game. This isn't just my FPS rotted brain speaking, I just feel like there isn't much of a fun aspect to village builders in general. I will admit they are relaxing, a great way to blow off steam, but having to just click around and watch my boys get to work isn't my definition of entertaining. I also ended up accidentally glitching the tutorial about 30 minutes in, which didn't allow me to progress any further. The only way I saw I could fix this would be by restarting my entire village, which I was not about to do, so I kinda just stopped right there. After reading more about this game from their store page, it does seem to be a pretty intriguing game if you're a fan of the genre, but I'm not, and when compared to Call of Cthulhu, it's just not even a competition. So the point goes to Fanatical because, well, obviously. But I will still give a point to G2A because there always seems to be one decent looking game that has effort put into it tossed in these packs. But with that being said, let's move on to the last games on our list. Bot Vice from Fanatical and, oh my lord, Nightwalker from G2A. Another damn duplicate, Jesus fucking Christ. Let's just get this thing out of the way. Nightwalker is a horror game where you walk through the woods while being chased by monsters. Your goal is to find jumper cables to start your car and get the fuck out of there. The thing about this game is that it is pretty damn empty. I feel like it had potential to be more, but 99% of the time it is literally just walking. Maybe it was my specific route, but I only saw one single monster up until I reached this abandoned building where I was forced to kill 3 of them before I could enter, probably to extend the playtime. Inside is a werewolf, which you'll have to avoid while restoring power, finding ropes, and pulling this hunk of metal out of the way of a locker. After you get the cables and exit the building, the game just ends. $40 for a 20-minute walking simulator. I just can't believe this even exists. Now, let's take a look at Bot Vice. The premise is that a Redditor has taken control of the city and demands a ransom of 100 billion Bitcoin. Of course, the police ain't got that kind of cash, so we take it upon ourselves to save the city. We play as Aaron Saver, a police officer who, after losing her arm in a failed operation years back, has a cool ass robotic arm that basically turns her into Cyborg. If I had to compare this to any other game, it would be Cuphead, because holy shit, this game is hard. The gameplay revolves around standing behind a barrier as you shoot enemies in front of you. You're able to hide behind cover to avoid getting hit, but because of my boomer ass reaction time, I was having a lot of trouble surviving. You can slash enemies that get up close and personal, though I never used it because I was scared of getting hit. The enemies come at you like Black Friday shoppers and shoot more bullets than sanity I had remaining. There are also many different types of enemies as you progress, each adding another layer of challenge. And damn, do I have to say, fuck these frogs. It's so annoying how they slap me as I'm being shot at by nuclear missiles. Each section ends with its own boss fight, which I was actually able to cheese. As long as you don't kill the regular enemies, more won't spawn, allowing you to just 1v1 the boss basically. You also learn more about Aaron's story as you progress, which, though minuscule, is something I always appreciate. Anyways, this game is great. I fucking love it and hate it at the same time. The only reason I wasn't able to finish it was not because I got bored, but simply because I just couldn't. If I play this game any longer, I am going to go bald. I am not built for this kind of game. Anyways, Fanatical gets another point. Who would have guessed? So final scores are 5 points to Fanatical and 1.5 points to G2A. Fanatical is the clear winner here. Even though I'm not advocating for the purchase of random Steam keep packs since they always seem to be a gamble, you should be buying from Fanatical if you really just don't give a shit. Again, the games you get may differ both in quality and enjoyment than what I got. Just make sure you know the risks. Anyways, if you like this video, check out my other videos as well. Thank you to everyone for 6,000 subscribers. I love every single one of you, especially my first ever channel member, Easy1250. They are going straight up on my wall to immortalize the memory. Anyways, ciao ciao.